Heidi ho there, young aspiring mechanics out there in YouTube land. Bobby here today, and this is definitely one of the Young Mechanic series videos. What we're going to talk about today, guys, is tool trucks and tool men. I'm talking about Snap-on, Matco, Mac, and Cornwell. Okay, and I want to talk about the pros and the cons of tool trucks. And so we're going to start right here with just the pros. Okay. They are very convenient. They come to you, okay, usually once a week. You may have all four coming there. You may have at least one or two trucks coming by your shop. And it's very convenient. They come to you. You can go out there, find a tool you like, purchase it, what have you. And if you ever have a problem with the tool, they're usually by there once a week. They can replace the tool for you. So you're paying for convenience. That's the biggest thing right there. Typically, all four of these companies, they do sell quality tools. Okay, I own a little bit of all of them, and I can't really say one's better than the other. I do have some tools laid out here that I'll talk about some differences here in a little bit when we get through this list. But they're all good quality tools. Okay, but there's other companies that make good quality tools too that don't sell their tools off of a truck. There's Sears Craftsman. My first tool set that I bought was a Sears Craftsman, okay? I think someone told me that they're possibly going out of business. I don't know, or maybe shutting down some stores. I don't really keep up with all that. But anyway, there's a lot of other tool manufacturers as well, like Cobalt and Husky, and oh man, there's so many of them nowadays. I mean, when I first got in this business, there was not very many around, but nowadays there's tools everywhere. I mean, Ingersoll-Rand makes some tools. You got Stanley. I mean, they've been around for quite some time too. But anyway, I'm going to digress. I'm going to move on. Another pro is the truck account. Okay, typically most tool men will probably front you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 of credit on the truck with no interest, okay? And you can, pay weekly. He's coming by weekly, you give him $50 a week or whatever, and you can buy tools at zero interest, usually up to a certain limit, okay? So that is a benefit to some extent. We'll talk about maybe not so much on the other list here. Anyway, tool trucks typically have a better selection of tools for the mechanic, okay? There's going to be tools on a truck that will be somewhat specialty tools or what have you, or geared mainly toward doing automotive repair that you won't be able to find at Sears or possibly at Lowe's under the Cobalt brand or what have you. There's going to be certain things over your career you're definitely going to have to purchase probably off of a tool truck, okay? Now, let's move over to the cons. Okay, these tools on these trucks are very, very expensive, okay? Definitely usually double the price of what you'd pay for somewhere else, and sometimes up to as much as 5 times as expensive, okay? And I'll give a couple examples of that here in a little bit, okay? So you're definitely going to be able to get more for your money somewhere other than a tool truck, okay? And number 2 on the list here, it's easy to rack up debt. When they give you that easy tool truck account at zero interest, they're not even checking your credit for that at all. It's easy to get into the habit of walking out to the tool truck every week and buying a $35 tool or buying a $70 tool and what have you, and pretty soon you got $500 or $600 on a tool account, okay? And if the tool man's cut that off at your limit, you may not be able to buy anymore until you get some of that paid down, okay? So it's easy to rack up debt if you're not careful with a tool truck. And here's another thing, a lot of times it's like a ritual in some shops every week. Like when the tool man comes, that's a good reason to take a break and walk out there on his air-conditioned truck and look around, and you're right there. It's like you're like a kid in a candy store. And there might be something laying there that's the newest, latest, greatest thing. You really don't need it, but you might just buy it just to buy it, okay? So be careful. Easy to rack up debt on a tool truck. Another thing, if you're standing on a tool truck looking around, standing around the air conditioning, drinking a cold soda, because some of the tool men will have a cooler there, they'll give you a cold drink just to keep you out there, you're not making money, okay? You need to be in the shop making some money. All right, now if you do ever make a large purchase like a toolbox or something like that, or a large amount of tools, I've seen this happen to young guys before, the tool men to get them, and they'll say, hey, we got this apprentice tool cart, and we got this set here, we call this our apprentice starter set, and it ends up being about $3,000 or $4,000, okay? So they run the credit, they do the financing through their tool company, and you roll out and you got a little tool cart full of tools, and you're paying like $3,000 or $4,000 for it, okay? You're paying a high interest rate, and on these purchases when you go through their finance companies, okay? So watch out for that. And tool men, if you don't pay your bill, they'll come take your toolbox, okay? If you owe them money for all that and you get fired or whatever, I've seen it happen a couple times over the years where they have repossessed people's stuff. I've always paid my bills. I hadn't had any problems with any of that as far as tools. But I usually pay as I go. If I buy something, it's going to be paid off pretty quick. I've financed one toolbox in my career, and I had it paid off in 6 months. So anyway, and another thing, there was this one tool man one time, he was giving bad financial advice, okay? He was telling guys, why not go ahead and buy this $10,000 toolbox, and if you go ahead and like refi your house, you can get some extra money to go ahead and pay for this toolbox, okay? And so basically he was giving him advice to go ahead and refinance your 30-year mortgage, and let's add a toolbox on that too, so you pay for your toolbox for the next 30 years, okay? That's really not good financial advice. All right, so we're gonna stop right there. We're gonna bring the camera over. I'm gonna show you some tools. Okay, I laid out a couple tools here from a couple of my toolboxes here in the shop. We're just going to talk about a few things. This is a set of Ingersoll-Rand 1/2-inch drive deep well sockets that I purchased 20 years ago, okay? And they work great. And the price that I paid for these was $50, okay? Bought them at Northern Tool for $50. And the 19 and the 21 and the 22, which are the most common used ones that I've used every day, you can see they're not beat up bad. You know, they hold up good. That's a really good socket. I mean, it's done the job for me for 20 years. A set of sockets like this, probably off of a truck, would run you anywhere from probably $250 to $300. I've seen them priced for that before, just for a set of 1/2-inch impact deep sockets, okay? Now another thing, let's move on over here to these two little sockets. Now these are off a tool truck. These are 3/8 swivels, and this one here, they're both 17 millimeter, but this one's a snap-on and this one's a Mac. Now my favorite are these Macs, and the reason why is they're a little bit shorter. You can get this in a tighter spot, okay? Now I definitely, I'll use both of them. They work fine, but my favorite is the Mac. And you're gonna find that there's some tools that you definitely want off of that tool truck because no one else is gonna make it. And you're going to find that there's a reason you need a particular socket. I mean, there might be some car that you work on, you work in a dealership, and this will definitely get on a bell housing bolt on a such and such, your model, whatever, and no other brand will, okay? So you're going to have to buy that. You want to buy that to do your job and do it efficiently. Let's talk about line wrenches. I like snap-on line wrenches, okay? I purchased some over the years, and I've used some cheaper ones before, and sometimes they flex. And if they flex and they end up rounding the fitting on the line, then you're kind of screwed. See, here's an example. Here's a Mac. Now this is a good line wrench as well, but you can see that it's not as meaty up in this area. This line wrench will kind of flex on you a little bit. It's not as meaty as that one right there, okay? So the snap-on line wrenches, I definitely like those. Here's a pair of Channel Lock brand channel locks. I call them channel lock pliers anyway. And this is I got 2 pairs of these. I got 1 pair that's over 30 years old, okay? You don't have to have a tool truck brand tool to have a good quality tool, okay? And let's move on over. Here's another example of that. This 36 millimeter socket is a Lyle brand, okay? You might not even ever heard of that, okay? Pep Boys used to carry these in the store. When I was working at Pep Boys in the early 90s, one day I needed a 36 millimeter socket, and I just ran in the store and bought one. I bought this one, and this is over 30 years old, okay? It's been beat on. You can see where I beat on it with a hammer, using it probably to press something out or whatever, but you know, it worked fine. And I probably paid $15 for that, okay? And here's some wrenches here, different wrenches. This one right here, let's put the camera right over here. This is a Craftsman wrench, okay? This reminds me of a story that a mechanic told me one time. This was his reason for buying snap-on tools, okay? He said, they feel better in my hand, okay? He wasn't gonna buy anything else because they feel better in my hand. And I can see that to some extent. This Craftsman wrench here, you know, it's got some edges on it. They're down here around the end. It's not quite as polished. And yeah, if you're pulling on something, it might hurt your hand a little bit more than this nice, polished, snap-on wrench, okay? All right? So I guess that was the difference he was talking about. But there's other companies that make polished wrenches too. This is a Craftsman also. These come out in the 90s. It's called a Craftsman Professional Series. And that wrench right there is just as polished as this snap-on here, okay? And look here, this one here is only a few years old. This is a Cobalt. That looks pretty polished to me, guys. That's a pretty nice wrench, okay? And let's move on over here. Probably some of the first tools I ever bought was these Craftsman, okay? These old ratchets, I don't even think they make this style ratchet anymore. And I love this because you can get down and you can turn that in right there. And here's the sockets that you used to be able to buy, 12 point. Typically most of your big sets come with chrome sockets that are 12 point. Not really what I recommend using day in and day out, but they will work and get the job done. Alright guys, hey, I'm gonna wrap this video up now, okay? And probably done pissed off some tool men out there. I'll probably get some bad comments on this video, but that's fine, I don't care. My biggest thing to you, because I'm speaking to young mechanics, just don't get in a lot of tool debt right off the bat, okay? Work slowly and look elsewhere for tools. You will find tools like some of the ones I've mentioned here, the Ingersoll-Rands and the channel locks and stuff like that. And you can pick up some good tools and put together a good set of tools that'll make you some money and not spend an arm and a leg, okay? And I mean, you'll still find things that you'll get off the tool truck and you'll need that, but just don't go crazy. Don't be one of these guys that says, I'm gonna buy this brand and this is all I buy, and you got that sticker on your toolbox that says, I only buy this brand tools and don't ask to borrow them, and I won't ask to go to sleep with your wife or something like that. I've seen these stickers and stuff on toolboxes before. Don't be one of those guys. Just open up your mind to all the other opportunity that there is out there to purchase some tools, okay? And one more quick thing. I did have a young fellow tell me one time that the reason he did buy his stuff off the tool truck was because of the fact that he could only get credit there. He couldn't get credit anywhere else, okay? Well, maybe that would be a, you know, I hate that that was his only avenue for credit, was that weekly tool truck deal. But look elsewhere. Even if you have to, if you're a young mechanic just getting started, even if you got to borrow some money from your parents or a friend or a mentor or something like that, maybe you can get started, or maybe you can get you a credit card with a $500 limit from the bank just to get started on, and just kind of start slowly to where you can purchase things elsewhere. Okay, guys? I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful. Tell a friend about us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.